What do you choose when it comes to home defense? A pistol? A shotgun? Is an AR-15 overkill? I believe in having every advantage available to me. Speed and accuracy, baby. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. If you couldn't tell from the intro, today's video is all about home defense. We're going to go over firearm selection and setup as far as accessories and aftermarket parts go. We're also going to talk about storing and staging as far as home defense goes, and ammunition selection, among other things. But first, I'd like to thank all of you that have supported the channel by subscribing, dropping me likes, commenting, and sharing these videos with everyone. I appreciate every one of you. So home defense is a serious topic, and it's one that is very important to most firearm owners, especially those of us that aren't military or law enforcement, that aren't using firearms professionally. Well, besides concealed carry, home defense is probably the number one reason why you own firearms. That, and to have fun, obviously. Firearms are a great time at the range. But the main reason for owning them, besides everything that the Second Amendment covers and, our freedom, the most applicable reason is to defend your home, your family, and, everything that's important to you. So, insofar as that is concerned, that is how I set up my firearms, is specifically with home defense in mind. Now, not every single one of them, because I feel like different guns have different purposes, and some of them are just for fun. Some of them are for, defending our freedom and all that stuff, just in case something like that ever did come about. But the more likely thing, and still very unlikely, is that you might use your firearm in a home defense type of situation. So that's what we're going to discuss today. Now, what kind of firearm you choose for home defense, it's a personal choice that is up to you. And a lot of people choose a lot of different things depending on their situation, what makes sense for their life and their home. I'm going to explain what works for me and what I think will work for a lot of you. Now, it depends, if you have land, if you have a big home, if you have kids or not, if you live in an apartment, all those kinds of factors come into play for what kind of firearm you're going to choose and how you're going to set it up and stage it. So let's get into that first, is what kind of firearm are you going to choose for home defense? Now, the gun that I carry, my concealed carry EDC firearm, a lot of people, especially if you only own one gun, that might be perfect. Maybe you get something about this size, a 4-inch barrel, 15-round capacity pistol that you can carry concealed fairly comfortably, but also be effective at home defense kind of stuff. That's definitely a possibility. Now, when I consider home defense, because I like to own multiple firearms, I want something with a little higher capacity and just a little bit bigger, something I could be more effective with than a subcompact. A lot of people are going to want something like a 1911 because 45 ACP, stopping power, am I right? 45 ACP is a great round for home defense, but at least the 1911s that I have, they don't have a rail on them for mounting a white light, which is a very important thing to me. Now, what about something like an AK or an AR-15 rifle? Not bad choices at all. They're a little long and unwieldy to get around the house. Maybe a mini Draco or an AR pistol, and we will discuss that because that's one of my choices. Besides that, I think that the most logical choice for most people is probably going to be a pistol. But when it comes to a pistol, I feel like for home defense, you don't need something small, something that you're going to have to conceal comfortably. So I want every advantage available to me. I said that in the intro, and I do mean it. And that applies to every firearm that I consider a home defense firearm, of which specifically I have two. And that's going to be this M&P 2.0, which I have customized and set up specifically for home defense, and my 11.5-inch AR-15 pistol, which I also set up specifically for home defense. The reason that I choose these is two things. For one, they're very easy to maneuver around tight, spaces. CQB, close quarters battle, that is exactly what home defense is. A pistol is going to be very easy to access fast and have at the ready. An AR-15, depending on your situation, might be a little slower to get to, but it is going to be a more effective option. I have kids, so I can't just keep loaded firearms sitting out. That's why I choose the AR pistol and the standard handgun. So let's go over why I picked those, but also how I set them up for home defense. Now, while the AR-15 sure is a lot of advantages, there's nothing quite as quick and easy to get to as a pistol. Still pretty accurate. An AR-15 pistol is just about the ideal home defense weapon. Now this one is chambered in 5.56, which I do think that 300 blackout or even an AR-9 might make more sense, but 5.56 is going to be a very effective caliber. And one of the things about having an AR pistol length barrel, this one being 11.5 inches, you do lose some of the effective velocity of the round. But when it comes to home defense, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't want something that is going to over-penetrate, meaning that if you miss your intended target, that it's going to go through multiple walls and possibly end up in an unintended target. That is a very bad day. So losing some velocity by having the shorter barrel is a good thing. The other nice thing about having a shorter barrel, excuse me, is it makes it much more maneuverable. I can maneuver around every corner, hallway, every spot in my house with this AR pistol very easily. Keep it at a low ready, and I can come around corners and maneuver it really, really well. Now, the way that I set something up like this for home defense is you don't want a bunch of extra stuff that's going to add weight or possibly get snagged on things or just anything extra that could possibly malfunction or go down. So I try to set up a home defense AR as simple as possible with just the necessities. And the necessities to me are a red dot as far as an optic goes. One thing I really like about this SIG red dot is that it has shake awake, so I don't have to worry about turning it off and on. If I do have to grab this in the middle of the night or anytime, that dot is on and the battery life lasts 50,000 hours. The other big thing when it comes to home defense setup is going to be your light, a white light, and I like to run a pressure pad. That way, my support hand is free to run the light. This hand is free to run the trigger and the rest of the controls. One of the great things about an AR-15 is your capacity. You have 30 rounds in a magazine, or more if you want to go with a drum mag or something, but also extra weight, making it more unwieldy. So I like to go with 30 round mags. Hopefully no situation where I need to use something like this takes more than 30 rounds, because again, that's a very bad day. Now, this AR does have a muzzle brake on it, but I run the Strike Industries oppressor just to keep a little bit of that concussion and blast and noise, hopefully from blowing out my eardrums and possibly my windows, because you're probably not going to have time to get to your ear pro and put that on. I do run a sling on this, but I keep it strapped up with a Ranger band. That way I can still run all of the controls very easily if I don't have time to pull the sling and sling up. I also run a Magpul bad lever. Just another thing that helps in case the sling is blocking my bolt catch, bolt release, I can manipulate everything with this hand. And to me, just makes everything that much faster, that much easier. I also run an extended ambidextrous charging handle. Again, fast and easy. So that's how I set up an AR pistol for home defense. I think it is just about ideal. But again, if you have kids, you probably can't just leave something like this sitting around loaded. So that's why I also have a pistol set up. Now, if you're setting up an AR-15 for home defense, a pistol length is probably the way to go. It's much more maneuverable, and you're going to want that in the close quarters of your home. Also, I would recommend a red dot that makes for very fast target acquisition, and a white light, because if something happens, it's probably going to happen at night. Most home defense encounters will probably happen within fairly close quarters. So a pistol will do you very well. But just like the AR, I recommend a red dot and a white light. So my AR-15 pistol was designed to be my primary home defense firearm, but realistically, it's probably my secondary home defense firearm. The reason for that being, like I said, I have kids, so I can't just leave something like that sitting out loaded. A pistol I can have locked up in a fast access safe right by my bed. I can get to it almost immediately, but I can keep it locked up and safe, which is one of the big concerns in my household, at least. It may be in yours too. So this has basically become my primary home defense firearm for those reasons. If you're single and live alone, an AR is probably the way you want to go. And I recommend the pistol and the AR over a shotgun for a few reasons. I know these have been discussed ad nauseum on the internet. And the reason for this being, a lot of people think of a shotgun specifically as the home defense weapon. But a 12 gauge shotgun is going to recoil a lot harder than this pistol or this AR-15, and it's going to carry a lot less rounds. And so you have a much lower capacity. You have something that's going to have an 18-inch barrel unless you have an NFA item, and that's a whole nother thing, using NFA items for home defense. So it's going to be long, unwieldy, recoil a lot, and have low capacity. It's also not quite as easy to aim as something like this or this. I know people think that you get a lot of spread, but really within home defense distances, you're not getting much spread out of buckshot or anything like that. So past that, my main thing is this M&P 2.0 pistol. Now this was a stock M&P 2.0 when I bought it. If you've seen my video, which I'll link to down below, about what I've done to this, basically I milled it for a red dot. I added a Apex Tactical flat face trigger and a white light, the Streamlight TLR1 HL. Now, these things to me are all you need for a home defense setup. When it comes to the red dot, you can be target focused. So you don't have to line up a front sight, a rear sight, target, 3 planes. Your eyes don't work that way. What your eyes do work is target focus. You can look at the target, lay the red dot right on top of it, and as long as you pull your trigger correctly, that is where your round will land. Other thing about a pistol, the rounds are not quite as powerful as rifle rounds, and so there is less of a chance of over-penetration. And we're going to talk about ammo selection in a minute. But this is an ideal pistol home defense setup in my opinion. Anything that you're going to use for home defense should have a white light, and one that you can actuate easily, and you can come around the corner in a low ready, so you're not pointing your weapon at anything that you do not wish to fire on. And this light, this is 1,000 lumens. It's gonna light up anything like your lights are on. And so you don't have to aim your weapon at any unintended target until you know that it's an intended target. A lot of home defense encounters happen in the nighttime. You need a light on a home defense weapon. And if you notice, I have one on this, I have one on this pistol, I have one on both of my AR-15s. This pistol is my backup home defense pistol, and I'll show you how that works in a moment. This AR was set up for home defense before I got a shorter barreled one. Light, white light, number one thing, red dot. Just makes it that much easier to get on target quicker. This M&P 2.0 took me a while to customize it the way it is, but it's pretty much set up ideal for home defense. Incredible trigger by Apex Tactical, Holosun red dot, and Streamlight TLR1 HL. They can be pretty accurate with it. So I want to talk about storing and staging of home defense firearms. Now, if you're like me and you have kids, like I've said a few times already, you can't keep your firearms just loaded out in the open, which of course would be ideal for getting to them quickly. But there are many solutions out there. Now, I keep most of these in a safe, locked away anytime they're not being used. Then I have a fast access safe that sits by my bedside. So let me show you that and how I keep that set up. This is my bedside fast access safe, and there are multiple ways you can get into it. First thing though, I keep a handheld flashlight. This thing is magnetized. It sits right there on it and is always ready, just in case I need that before I get to a firearm that has a light. Now this safe, you can put in a code in order to open it. I'm not going to show you what my code is here. It also has these. Now these are RFID tags. It gives you one that you can put in your wallet. This one I keep in a drawer and I pull it out by my bedside while I'm sleeping in case I need to get to it quickly. And basically the way they work, it opens it automatically. Now this door is spring loaded, so you don't have to worry about that. And inside is where I keep my firearms. What I keep in this safe are 2 firearms and 2 magazines for my AR-15 pistol. My main squeeze here, 17 rounds of 9mm hollow points, ready to go with a light and a red dot. And my backup, 15 rounds, also with a light on it, and night sights. So these are both very good options for home defense firearms. What is also in here are 2 magazines loaded with defensive ammunition. This one is Hornady Critical Defense, and this one is Federal HST. So ammo selection, very important, and we're going to go into that in just a moment. But because it might take a minute to get to my AR, I have these in there at the ready. So if there's ever a situation where I need to get to the AR-15 because like a group of people are trying to come through the door or something, this is what I'm going for. If it's something that's gonna look like it happens really fast, I'm gonna be going for this. But I have all 4 of these available to me very, very quickly. Firearm selection and staging your home defense firearms are 2 very important aspects of home defense. The third is ammunition selection, and that is just as important as anything else. Now, 45 ACP, if you're going to use a ball round, not a bad way to go. It's a fat, slow-moving round, relatively speaking, so there might be a little bit less over-penetration there, but I don't recommend ball ammunition or full metal jacket. What I do recommend are hollow points of some kind, specifically high-quality defensive ammunition. Now, when it comes to the pistols, my primary, 17 rounds, and it's loaded with hollow points all the time. And what I keep it loaded with is Federal HST. My backup pistol, 15 rounds of Federal HST. Now, when you're at the range, that kind of ammunition is more expensive. So you're going to want to just run your standard FMJs, save you some money, but make sure that you run a few mags of your defensive ammo through every firearm that you plan to use defensively so that you know that it cycles that ammunition. Hollow points are just not quite as smooth in a feed ramp as ball ammo is. So make sure your firearm will run your defensive ammunition. Don't just load it up and put it away. I know it's more expensive, but it's better to have that peace of mind. Now, as far as for the AR, like I said, defensive ammunition. This one here is Hornady Critical Defense. And this ammo is specifically designed for home defense. It's nickel plated, so it resists corrosion and enhances low light chamber checks just because it's shinier, easier to see. Also, apparently it just has better propellants in it. You know, it's just higher quality. But it's also supposed to be minimum muzzle flash. So it protects your night vision, which is something that you do have to think about in a home defense situation. Part of the reason that I run the oppressor on here. That helps with that muzzle flash as well. But you want to keep that flash down. And so you can see they're also soft point ammunition here. So they will expand more on impact. They're designed to not over penetrate. They are ideal for home defense. Now, the other one that I run here is Federal HST rifle ammunition. Again, soft point, and it's designed to be a defensive round exactly for this kind of purpose. At the range today, we were running these soft points. For one, they're just a little bit easier on my steel targets. But again, just making sure that my defensive AR will run defensive ammunition. And I have run mags of both of these expensive rounds through both of my ARs. And I've ran hollow points through all of my 9mm pistols. Now, my 45s, I mostly run ball ammo in because I don't use those primarily for home defense. They stay locked up in the safe. They don't have rails on them, and so I can't mount a light on them. Light is a big deal to me. Now, the last thing I want to touch on when it comes to home defense, besides your weapon selection, besides staging it in a safe way that you can access quickly, and besides your ammunition selection, you have to train. You can't just buy a firearm and put it away in a just-in-case kind of scenario. You have to train with your defensive firearms. Make sure that you're proficient with them. Make sure that you understand the battery of arms and that it is natural to you and that you can be fairly accurate and effective and quick with them. I go out to the range every single weekend. So 52 weeks a year, I send at least a box of ammo in one of these pistols and at least a few magazines in one of these every single weekend, and I rotate through all of them so that I make sure that I'm proficient with every single one. I do that with my concealed carry pistol, and I do that with my defensive pistols. I do that with my defensive AR, and I also do it with my AK and my longer AR-15. And of course, I love to shoot the 1911s. I like to go shooting. It's a fun activity to me, but it also just keeps my skills up to par, makes sure that I'm very comfortable with every single one of these, and that it's just natural to me. You want it to be fast, accurate, and natural, because when you find yourself in a defensive situation, you are not going to rise to the level of the skill that you think you have. You're going to rise to the level of your training. And so that muscle memory, that kind of stuff is very important. You need to be able to react without having to think about it so much, if that makes sense. If you found this video informative or entertaining, please consider subscribing to the channel, drop me a like, leave me a comment. I would love to know what you choose for home defense, whether it's a pistol, a rifle, an AR-15, a shotgun. What do you do? How do you store and stage your firearms? What kinds of ammo do you do? Do you agree with the things I've said or not? Let me know. I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm not an expert. I just have my opinions and experience. Please, please share these videos with anyone you know that would enjoy this content. Check down below. I've got an Amazon affiliate link. If you click on that, you'll find some firearm goodies and accessories there. But anything that you buy on Amazon after clicking that link will give the channel a little kickback, which is greatly appreciated. Also, I've got a link to the Patreon down there. If you want to join the Patreon, that is the best way to support the channel. Besides that, from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.